What is going on, everybody? I go by the name of Kari, and I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on SneakerPhetish. Back in the mid-'80s, there were a lot of things going on over at Nike. They were coming out with some of the most incredible sneakers and timeless sneakers that we had seen in quite a long time. The problem is, because so many sneakers were coming out, not all of them were going to have the staying power as some of the other ones, say like an Air Jordan 1. But today, Nike has given us a retro, a re-release of a classic sneaker that I personally was really excited to get my hands on, even though it flew under the radar for a lot of people. Without further ado, let's get into it. Boom. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Nike Terminator High in Obsidian, Sail, and Granite, otherwise known as the Georgetown. We're going to take a quick history lesson. We're going all the way back to the 1980s to talk about this sneaker, what made it so special, so different, and a little bit of a letdown for 2022. Let's jump in. All right, starting with the upper of the shoe here. Now, this is a classic Terminator High silhouette. If you guys are not familiar, I'm going to get you familiar. But the one thing that we see about this sneaker is that it bears a resemblance to two, maybe even three very popular models. And you can tell by the shape of the upper that it takes design cues from sneakers like the Nike Dunk and of course the Air Jordan High, which were also released in the same year, 1985, as the Terminator. Now this one is special, of course, because it's outfitted in that dark obsidian and granite or gray color, of course, giving us Georgetown vibes. Materials are okay. They're all right at best. I'd probably give the materials about a maybe 5 out of 10, maybe a 6 out of 10 on a good day. The leather is okay. It's a little stiff, but it's not the good kind of stiff like we saw on, say, a Georgetown 85 Air Jordan 1. This is $125 Nike sportswear kind of stiff. So leather's not anything to write home about, but it is what it is. Taking a top-down look at the shoe here, classic silhouette. This looks just like so many other sneakers. The only difference is that the toe box seems to be a little weirdly shaped here. It's like in this weird kind of half circle, half moon shape here. It's a little more boxy than normal. A lot of people have talked about that. We're kind of more historians, but nevertheless, you get the gray toe box moving up to the gray laces, and of course, on the tongue of the shoe here, the classic Nike Terminator tag as well. Moving around to the heel of the shoe, this is really kind of where the sneaker gets really famous. You see that big, huge Nike going across the back of the shoe here. We're going to see this actually a few times because there are a few other colorways that are coming of these in 2023, but they had to start with the original colorway with the original Nike on the back in that dark obsidian. Sail colored midsole with that dark obsidian blue outsole here. Herringbone traction pattern. This is actually giving me Nike Blazer. If you guys own a pair of Nike Blazers, the outsole of the Blazer literally looks exactly like this. So it's giving me Nike Dunk, Air Jordan 1, and Nike Blazer kind of Frankenstein together in this one sneaker that was known as the Terminator. I won't even bother getting it out, but on the insole, obsidian blue insole with the same granite gray Nike on the heel. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the Nike Terminator High. Now again, this is more about the history of this shoe and what this sneaker really represents that makes it special to me than the sneaker itself. Again, it's a $125 shoe. The materials are not going to be all that great, but I think the reason why Nike was coming out with this is because Nike's been trying to roll out some historically significant sneakers. Some of them have been bigger hits than the Nike Terminator High. Something like the Airship, for instance, has been a much more popular sneaker and release than the Terminators. These really went underneath the radar. Of course, we've had so much noise with so many other sneakers. It's very easy for a sneaker like this to go underneath the radar when you have shoes like the Lost and Found taking the spotlight. But if you're a basketball fan, if you're an 80s Nike fan, if you're an 80s sneakers fan, then you probably at least had your eye on these, even if you didn't buy them. Let's get into a little bit of history. All right, back in 1984, Georgetown was a behemoth of a basketball team led by the famous Patrick Ewing. Now, Georgetown had had some tough times in the years prior, but under the coaching of John Thompson and Patrick Ewing leading the team, they were able to secure their first national championship, NCAA championship, beating Houston 84-75 in 1984. Now, there were a lot of dope things that were happening in 1984. We started looking at this guy named Mike Jordan that was starting to come into the league. There were a lot of other cool things happening in pop culture. One of the biggest things happening in pop culture was in the movies. And if you guys are 80s movies buffs, then you'll know that in 1984, there was a little movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger that came out that was called The Terminator. Now, within that movie, there was actually a very famous shoe that was worn that was known as the Nike Vandal. And a lot of people started calling the black and silver Vandal that was worn in the Terminator movie, the Terminator Vandal. So Nike was already doing a fantastic job with product placement, as we all know. Nike has done phenomenal jobs with product placement when it comes to movies, television, and of course, sports teams. Fast forward to 1985, we get the official Nike Dunk Be True to Your School pack. Now, Nike is outfitting all these amazing basketball teams with custom colorways of their school colors of all these special dunks. Schools like Michigan, Syracuse, UNLV, and Georgetown. But if you look a little closer at the Be True to Your School poster, you'll notice that the Georgetown dunks look a little bit different. They've got that big Nike on the back, just like you see here on the Terminators. Now, remember when I told you guys that there was a coach named John Thompson that actually led the Georgetown team to victory in '84? Well, what I didn't mention was that John Thompson was also a consultant at Nike at the time and went on to get on their board of directors. John Thompson had a lot of deep ties over at Nike, and as such, when his basketball team won the national championship for the first time in the school's history in '84, John Thompson was able to use his connections not only to get the school their own colorway to Nike shoe. It wasn't enough because he was who he was. He was able to get the school their own silhouette. Hence, the Nike Terminator was born as an original silhouette specifically for the Georgetown basketball team. It was something unlike we had seen before, that he had that much power and pull and clout to be able to get the school their own shoe, which they proudly wore on their way to another championship in 1985. Sadly, they didn't make it in 1985, so it would have been cool to see these on foot while Georgetown went to another championship and kind of hit that back-to-back action, but unfortunately, it didn't happen for them. The wild part about it is that we really didn't see another school get their own silhouette of another shoe pretty much after that. I mean, as far as I know, you guys can correct me down below if another school got their own shoe, their own silhouette, but I don't really think we've really seen that ever since the Terminator. So while it is a really dope homage to, again, those kind of fanatics of 80s basketball and 80s Nike sneakers, unfortunately, it seems like the Terminator just really fell flat for a lot of people. I don't know how well the Terminator is translating into 2022, honestly, because the shape of the shoe is a little funny looking. This literally looks like the capital letter L. And as a result of that, I don't know if aesthetically this sneaker is really hitting on all cylinders for a lot of people that are removed from the history and don't really care about the history and just want the sneaker for what it is. When you look at it, there's a lot of better options for sneakers out here to put your feet into, and it makes the Terminator, for a lot of people, unfortunately, a very easy pass. But make no mistake about it, what we're looking at right here is history wrapped up in a sneaker that goes back over 30 to 40 years, and I like the shoe. I'm not mad at it, and that's why I picked it up and I was really excited to get it. But I also understand that this is not the hottest shoe out here. There's a lot of people passing on it, and hey, maybe this sneaker will become so cheap that it's just one of those shoes that you just put into your collection, and maybe you dig it out one day like, oh, hey, maybe I can rock these one day. Or if you choose to pass on them altogether, I certainly understand that. But if you're a history buff, if you like storytelling, and if you like 80s sneakers and kind of these older silhouettes, I think we're going to be seeing more of these. Like I mentioned, there are more colors that are coming. There's a black and white that's coming. There's a white and green, I believe, that's also coming in 2023. So unfortunately, you guys have not seen the last of the Terminators. We're going to be seeing more of these. Final thoughts on these. These sneakers are really interesting because it just goes to show you how far connections can go. Sneakers are relationships business. And if you're somebody that wants to get somewhere in sneakers, from securing a pair of Orange Lobster dunks that I didn't get, or becoming a content creator or an influencer or something, you got to remember that even from far back as the 80s, sneakers have always been a relationships business. So keep that in mind, that it's not what you know all the time, but it's also who you know. All right, that's pretty much all that I got to say about these. Now it's time for you guys to sound off down below in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about the 2022 Georgetown Terminator High. Are these ones that you guys did happen to pick up? I'm sure you were able to get them for retail or maybe a little bit under, or for whatever reason, were these a hard pass for you? Sound off down below. Let me know. Of course, write down in the comments. Make sure that you click on that subscribe button so we can welcome you into the Sneaker Fetish family to make sure you don't miss out on any more heat that comes through like these, because I guarantee you, I got a lot more heat on the way. As always, I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on Sneaker Fetish, taking a look at these with me, unboxing them with me for a couple of minutes. I go by the name of Kari. This is the Nike Terminator High in the Georgetown colorway for 2022. And until next time, I'm out.